Take a good look at this aquarium, because in this video you will realize that you are no different from these fish. You aren't standing on the outside looking in, you are deep inside that very water. The fish you are watching think they are swimming freely in their own world, but every single second, every breath they take is completely at the mercy of a hand on the outside. Just like you think you are free, the fish don't get to decide when the light inside that glass tank turns on. Whenever that hand flips the switch, that is when morning begins. When the light goes out, they are trapped in darkness. When it turns on, there is nowhere to hide. So when does your morning begin? When that alarm goes off, the light of the aquarium is actually being turned on over you. You force yourself out of bed while your body is still starving for sleep, while your eyelids feel like pure lead, because the system told you, work or die. Look at the millions of workers rushing out of their homes just to catch the commuter shuttle, heading out to the factories before the break of dawn. Look at the fathers whose heads drop on the bus from sheer exhaustion, leaving night shifts with eyes bloodshot from sleep deprivation. You don't get to decide when to wake up, when to eat, or when to sleep. That hand, desperate to drain your energy, decides for you. Think about the life of that blue-collar worker on the factory assembly line, who has to ask the supervisor for permission just to use the restroom, racing against the clock. Is that person a living, breathing human being, or just another cog in those giant machines? The system sees you as nothing but an apparatus. Do you really think the fish decides how much it eats today? Or more importantly, which food it consumes? No. Whichever container that hand opens, whichever cheap, nutritionless pellet it throws in front of them, the fish is forced to eat only that. Whether it throws the lowest quality flake food or stale pellets, there is no choice. Just enough to survive and swim another day. And you think you shop freely, you don't decide what product to buy, what kind of house to live in, or what clothes to put on your child. You can only decide as much as your salary allows. You are only as free as the money in your pocket. Whatever wage that hand deems you worthy of, your quality of life and the options in front of you are limited to exactly that. Just like that fish, you live only as much as the bait, meaning your salary, allows. You can only dream within the boundaries of that bait, stuck with the cheap alternatives handed down to you. Think of the desperation of a mother bowing her head at the grocery store because she cannot afford to buy her child a simple toy, wondering how she will pay the bills at the end of the month. Look at the corporate office workers entering their workplaces every day with dragging feet, enduring insults and swallowing their dignity just to satisfy their manager's ego. We are all modern slaves trying to pay off credit card debts with minimum payments, mortgaging next month's salary before it even hits our accounts. Every dream you abandon because your salary isn't enough is the exact moment you slam against the glass of the aquarium. Watch how the fish tear each other apart when a handful of food drops into the water. They won't hesitate to injure the one next to them just to snatch that 1 gram of protein right out of their mouth. Because that hand keeps the food scarce, ensuring the fish always remain desperate and dependent. Now look at the world. Look at the countries cutting each other's throats for oil fields, natural gas pipelines and mines. It's not just armed conflicts either. See how global powers use money like a whip. Look at how America uses the threat of customs tariffs, economic sanctions, and financial embargoes against its own allies and neighboring countries just because they didn't bow to their interests. They force even those they call closest friends into hunger, crisis, and submission, using the weapon of money. You are in the exact same fight as those fish. From the person you try to cut off in traffic to the coworker whose back you stab just to get a slightly higher bonus at work. Look at those corporate slaves stepping on each other for a promotion, selling out their friends over performance metrics. Look at the delivery drivers burning their lives out on the roads just to make a delivery a few seconds faster. Think of the motorcycle couriers racing through rain, mud, and freezing cold, risking their lives just to avoid getting a bad rating on an app because a shipment was late, treated as if they are absolutely nothing at the gates of luxury estates. The system has turned human against human. Because in this system, money is like oxygen. It is impossible to refresh your own breath without suffocating someone else. That hand decides even the cleanliness of the water the fish breathes. If that hand doesn't clean the filter, the fish begins to choke in its own filth. It has nowhere to run. It is condemned to that dirty water. Cities have turned into concrete aquariums. From the air you breathe to the water you drink and the food you consume, everything is under the control of that that hand. Healthcare and education have ceased to be rights. They have turned completely into global commodities. If you have money, you get treated at the best hospital. If you have money, you get the highest quality education. If you don't, you are abandoned to ignorance and left to rot pathologically inside your own crowded misery. Think of the refugees and the youth forced to work unregistered, well below the minimum wage in sweatshops and textile factories. Look at the painters and industrial workers returning home at night without even the strength to look at their children's faces, leaving their lungs behind because of the chemical dust they breathe. And what is received in return for all these harsh conditions? Just a tiny amount of money, barely enough to pay the bills, just to send you back to that factory as a slave the very next day. That hand always wants the fish in the aquarium to multiply, new offspring excited. But when the fish grow old and their colors fade, when they slow down and retreat to a corner, no one cares about them anymore. Now they are seen as an eyesore that ruins the visual pleasure of the aquarium, a useless burden consuming food for nothing. Countries want the exact same thing. They constantly want the population to grow, demanding new labor forces to be born. But when those people give their lifetimes to the system and grow old, things change. Take a good look at the economic news around the world today. You will see ruthless headlines like "The aging population threatens the economy" or "Pension payouts put a massive burden on the budget." In fact, officials in some countries have stooped so low as to imply that it would be better for the economy if the elderly died sooner. See how a worker who has ground their bones for 30 or 40 years under the harshest conditions, who has carried mortar at construction sites or spent a lifetime hundreds of meters below the ground in coal mines, is afraid to even sit in a cheap coffee shop once they retire. Think of those elderly men who, instead of spending the final days of their lives in peace, are still forced to work as night watchmen at construction sites despite their advanced age and illnesses. The ultimate proof that the system holds nothing sacred except money is New Zealand. Remember, they passed the most radical smoking ban in the world to protect future generations from the plague of cigarettes. But what happened next? The incoming government repealed this vital law before it even took effect, solely to plug a budget deficit and fund tax cuts. The state preferred its own citizens to be poisoned and die from smoking over losing the money coming from tobacco taxes. Because in this system, human health and human life are nothing but economic data points. Your pension is presented to you as a favor, but in reality, it is just the last stale piece of bait thrown at you by the system that stole your lifetime. While your children flee to other countries just to make a bit more money and live under slightly better conditions, you are abandoned to loneliness in that silent corner of the aquarium as an economic expense item. Family bonds are torn apart between the teeth of that monster called money. This world has become too corrupted to be fixed with a polite request. Does a massive meteor really have to crash down on our heads for humanity to understand its dependency on this useless invention called money, this social virus? Or do we need to drown in a massive pandemic that brings the entire world to its knees? Must a nuclear war break out that turns cities to ash just so you can grasp that the money you trust so much is actually a meaningless obsession that cures no wounds? When disaster knocks on the door, the numbers in your bank account will neither protect you from radiation nor satisfy your hunger. It is clear we won't stop until we hit the wall, but only a humanity cleansed of this meaningless lust for money can emerge from beneath that wreckage. Since humanity becomes instantly tyrannical the moment it gets its hands on power and money, we must look for the solution in an intelligence outside of human nature. Artificial intelligence does not take bribes. It knows no nepotism. In a hospital, it determines surgery priority not based on the money in your bank account, but based on medical urgency. It does not differentiate between Japanese, Turkish, or American. To the algorithm, every life is equal. Governance stops being a power struggle and transforms into a mathematical system that serves all of humanity equally. Money is the filthiest weapon humanity ever invented to oppress one another. Today, you sell your soul just to pay bills. In our world, when production and logistics are handled entirely by machines, there will be no need for money. When machines produce and that fair intelligence distributes, your only job will be to be human. Compulsory labor will come to an end. When you turn 80, you won't have to work as a cashier at a grocery store or wipe the floors of an office building with trembling hands. You won't sacrifice your dignity and your health just to scrape together next month's rent. That sanitation worker sweeping the streets in the freezing cold at midnight, that miner inhaling coal dust deep underground, that truck driver ending their life behind the wheel will finally breathe a sigh of relief. Machines will take over all heavy, degrading, and exhausting work. The system will see you not as a consumer or a burden, but as a being that deserves to live. Broken families will reunite. No one will give up on their loved ones just to put food on the table. Artificial needs will end. You won't waste your lifespan chasing meaningless items forced upon you just for social status. You will occupy yourself with things you truly love, engage with art, and grow old truly living alongside those you care about. Time is running out. The glass of the aquarium has already cracked. The water is leaking. We will either perish along with this polluted water at the hands of selfish rulers, or we will hand over governance to a fair mind purified of human weaknesses. When no one has a hidden agenda against anyone else, both hatred and wars will end. Our world is the realization of that peaceful world promise, which humanity has failed to achieve for thousands of years, becoming real for all of mankind through technology. Are you ready to break those glass walls and open up to the real ocean? Make your decision. To grow old and remain a slave under the cruel and money-driven management of humans, or to become free under the peace of righteous codes. We must redesign the future, and this is only possible if we stand together, if we act as a single heart. If we do not wake up today, if we do not unite our voices against this system of slavery, those selfish rulers who govern us will keep doing everything in their power to ensure this wheel of exploitation keeps turning. They will use their power, their laws, and their money to the absolute limit just to condemn you to that aquarium choking in its own filth. Halting this course and opening the door to a new world is in your hands. If you want to smash the walls of the aquarium and share in the fair future of humanity, don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts with us in the comments, and subscribe to our channel. The future will belong to those who unite for it.